The Royal Rumble, Hell in a Cell, a ladder match, an Iron Man match, a last man standing match, War Games! It's hard to imagine mainstream wrestling without these match types at this point, but the wrestling business is constantly evolving and companies like WWE, AEW and TNA are constantly trying to innovate new match types for the masses. With that in mind, and with some dishonourable mentions for the likes of Dixieland stairs matches and a Punjabi sodding prison match, I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, and these are the 10 best wrestling match concepts since the year 2000. Number 10, the Championship Scramble. The Championship Scramble match came about when Vince McMahon tasked the late great Pat Patterson to come up with a new match concept because he wanted more themed pay-per-views, and look how that turned out. It debuted at Unforgiven 2008 with 3 Championship Scramble matches, in fact. One for the WWE Championship, one for the World Heavyweight Championship, and one for the ECW Championship. Explaining the match makes it actually sound a lot more complicated than it actually is. 2 wrestlers start the match off, and anytime anyone in the match scores a pinfall or submission, they are declared the interim or sort of unofficial champion. A new wrestler joins every 5 minutes until we have all 5 wrestlers in there, and then 5 minutes after the last wrestler joins, the bell rings, and whoever is the interim unofficial champion at the time becomes the official champion. Make sense? Trust me, it's actually quite enjoyable. Chris Jericho, who was a last-minute replacement for CM Punk at Unforgiven, just happened to leave as World Heavyweight Champion kind of out of the blue. I really enjoyed this looking back on it. They only did one more after Unforgiven 2008. It was at the Bash 2009, and it was for the ECW Championship, which Tommy Dreamer left with. However, whatever your feelings about this, we'll always have that brief, fleeting moment where the Brian Kendrick was interim WWE Champion. Number 9, the Final Deletion. This is just straight up bonkers. Only someone like Matt Hardy and his broken character could come up with the pure madness and absurdity of the Final Deletion. In terms of rules, it doesn't actually differ that much from a Falls Count Anywhere, no holds barred, no DQ match. It's just that background noises, weird locations, and dramatics are very much a part of it and very much encouraged. Dramatics like hologram drones shooting fireworks at each other, lawnmowers running over our work, and Jeff Hardy falling out of a 20-foot tree. It really does have to be seen to be believed, but I reckon Matt Hardy's probably owed quite a few royalty checks because this inspired quite a lot of the cinematic matches we've seen since, and we've seen a lot of them this year. Speaking of which, number 8, the Firefly Funhouse match. WrestleMania 36 was weird for obvious reasons, but it got even weirder when we got to the Firefly Funhouse match pitting Bray Wyatt against John Cena. This differs a lot from the Final Deletion type of match because there's a lot less wrestling in this and a lot more psychological warfare, I suppose. It was like a twisted work of art. It was like Bray Wyatt was the ghost of wrestling past, walking John Cena through all these flaws and failures, including his 2002 debut in the Ruthless Aggression era. There was tons of Easter eggs to be found here, and committed fans who are finally being rewarded with noticing all the minuscule details that are usually binned off because of WWE's never mind all that bollocks protocol genuinely enjoyed it. And any match type that gives me NWO John Cena is alright by me. Number 7, the Fight Pit. This is a match type that only debuted this year, and by God, I hope we bring it back in 2021. It's, well, nothing really like a cage match, actually, as I was about to say, because there's no escape. You just climb up onto higher platforms and try and murder each other on there. You win via submission or knockout by not being able to answer the referee's 10 count. And the 2 competitors that went at each other in this were perfect. Matt Riddle, Timothy Thatcher, and it was even ideal that they got Kurt Angle in, considering his background, as the referee for this one. Timothy Thatcher legitimately lost some teeth in this match, but blooded as he was, he choked out Matt Riddle to win the match. Fans and critics alike adored it. Meltzer gave it, I think, 4.25 stars, and NXT capitalized on this by having Thatcher lose loads. What? Number 6, an Ultima X Match. I mentioned this in the introduction, but TNA/Impact Wrestling have had some dodgy gimmick matches over their years, but this one was them at their absolute best. It was creative and was thrillingly designed to showcase their X division at its absolute best. Basically, there's like 4 metal structures in each corner of the ring, cables attached in between them, and attached to those cables, in the middle of it all, 15 feet above a ring, there's either a championship or just a big letter X, and whoever grabs that first wins. Simple. This is the match that TNA got themselves on the map with. It was so exciting, whoever was involved in the match, and it put people like AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels to the forefront of our wrestling conversation by showcasing just how amazing they were. I wonder what those two are up to nowadays, by the way. It also gave me a heart attack quite a lot because, yeah, please don't die. Number 5, Stadium Stampede. Right, I've stuck this right in the middle of the list because, well, I think it's fair to say it's a little bit divisive. Matt Hardy and the Elite taking on the Inner Circle inside a completely empty Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium was one of the most talked about matches in 2020. And personally, I thought it was ridiculous. And I loved it for it. I mean, look, it was necessitated because of COVID, and to be honest, it was my, aside from the actual vaccine, perfect antidote to the ongoing global bastard. It was just what I needed around that time of year because it just was fun, and that's what we wanted. It was the most outrageous empty arena match you'll ever see. Hangman Page knocked about on a horse and chased Sammy Guevara. Matt Jackson moonsaulted off some goalposts or something. Santana Ortiz took turns in dunking different versions of the Matt Hardy character before then getting shoved in an ice freezer or literally getting their bell rung. There was bar fights. I literally haven't got time to name all the mad spots that we had in this match. All I'll say is it finished with Kenny Omega hitting the one-winged angel from about 15 feet in the air in the stands. What? Look, it's not necessarily everyone's cup of tea, but I adored it. And the good news is, if like me you did too, AEW have trademarked Stadium Stampede. They did so in August, so maybe we'll get it next year? And maybe we can go? Please? Number 4, TLC. This one just sneaks in as it was devised in the year 2000 as a natural escalation of the ongoing feud between Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, and the Dudley Boys, not to be mistaken with What Culture's Dudley Boys, of course. They'd already had the Triangle Ladder match at WrestleMania 2000, and so for SummerSlam, they made it into a tables, ladders, and chairs match because, well, the Hardy Boys love jumping off ladders, the Dudley Boys love putting people through tables, and Edge and Christian quick hold a chair, and there we got the match concept, job done. It is so popular. It has obviously spawned its own pay-per-view we still get every single year, and from that pay-per-view and that match type in particular, we have had some crazy spots. You always think of Edge spearing Jeff Hardy in mid-air as he's sort of swinging above the ring. You had Edge getting attitude adjusted through just loads of tables, basically, by John Cena. And then you've got Edge bloodily beating Ric Flair in one of his final title opportunities. Basically, this match, and Edge in particular in this match, bloody rules. Number 3, the Boneyard Match. Alright, yeah, a Boneyard Match is just basically a cinematic buried alive match under any other name, but you can't argue that this was one of the most unforgettable matches at WrestleMania 36. Look, prior to Mania 36, I think the general consensus was that basically The Undertaker just couldn't go and achieve the levels of performance he'd had in WrestleMania Classic against like Shawn Michaels or CM Punk or Batista or whoever you want to name. He just couldn't go anymore. But with a cinematic match, you could sort of hide your limitations and really showcase the character we all know and love, or should I say characters, because this is where Taker sort of debuted his unholy trinity. It was Deadman, it was American Badass, and it was Mark Calloway as well. It was a sensational showdown against AJ Styles, and we even got some unscripted dialogue. Think about how rare that is in WWE today, in particular, before Taker buried AJ in a horror movie murder, basically. This is the match that gave us hope that maybe we can get a few more years out of Taker with this sort of match type. Maybe even we could finally get The Undertaker versus Sting. Well, apart from the fact that now The Undertaker is retired, for now, and Sting has buggered off to AEW. We can dream. Number 2, the Elimination Chamber. Basically, take all the best bits from Survivor Series, Hell in a Cell, and War Games, put it all together, and you've got the Elimination Chamber match. All right, Eric Bischoff came up with it, but Triple H actually came up with it after just constantly being rebuffed by Vince McMahon for pitching War Games, so he just invented the Elimination Chamber instead. Yes, it has changed over the years. Yes, we've had some dud matches without question over the years. It's a different colour now, and there's padding on the outside, although I would say that anyone complains about that, why don't you go and take a bump on the steel and then we'll see how you feel about it all. But it's given us some great moments. Goldberg spearing Chris Jericho through one of the pods, Edge losing one world title but winning another one on the same night at Elimination Chamber, Kofi Kingston back in 2019, and who could forget John Cena bloodily defying the odds to retain the WWE Championship at New Year's Revolution. Well, at least until someone turned up with a briefcase with a title opportunity inside and ruined his whole night. Wonder what number 1 on this list's going to be. Number 1, Money in the Bank. I love the Money in the Bank match. It got so popular after debuting at WrestleMania 21, and what a springboard that was for Edge's career, by the way. We'll get to that in a minute. It got so popular, it got given its own pay-per-view, and this was just before they started giving anything its own pay-per-view. Oh, Fatal 4-Way. For me, I'd take Survivor Series out of the Big Four for WWE and put Money in the Bank in. A, because Money in the Bank's mint, and B, because Survivor Series is just a load of brand warfare bollocks nowadays. But speaking of Edge, he won, as I mentioned, that first ever Money in the Bank match, which revolutionised the ladder match at WrestleMania 21. And think about that cash-in I mentioned against John Cena at New Year's Revolution 2006. It instantly established this air of unpredictability. The person who had this briefcase for a world title opportunity could cash in anytime. Anytime. I mean, yeah, it's probably not going to happen at a WWE live event here in Newcastle, England, but we can dream, we can hope, we can wonder, we can speculate. Look at what it's done for people's careers who've had the Money in the Bank briefcase. People like Daniel Bryan, people like CM Punk, people like Rob Van Dam. We wouldn't have had that moment with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 31 without the Money in the Bank briefcase. And yes, I will admit that this year's Money in the Bank pay-per-view was shit. It was just shit, okay? But normally it is one of the best moments, matches, pay-per-views, whatever you want to call it, of the year. And I can't be the only one, or maybe I am, who's nicked their dad's tatty old briefcase, passed it to their mate, and pretended to be cashing in for a world title opportunity. Maybe I am, actually. But you know what? I'm damn proud of it. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Or actually, there, follow me at Adam Wilborn. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam from What Culture, and I'll see you soon.